It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
Headline, Los Angeles.
This is RamView. I'm Joe Terozine, and this is RamView from the Lamb Cave, live on a Tuesday morning, which normally doesn't happen. And this is the January 14th, 2025 edition of From the Ram Cave. And it's brought to you, of course, by Kistler Law. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And, of course, check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Use that QR code, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And, of course, Sports Ball. Make Super Bowl more fun, more social, and wager-free. Check out sportsball.com, becoming a little bit more than just a friend of RamView. All right, so just everything's crunched, guys. You know my schedule. Getting ready to get on the road to get up the coast. I got to run a camp. Only thing that popped into mind right now, and I'll be back on before the week is over because it's a Sunday game. It's the game you didn't want. It's in the late window. Just looking at a couple of notes here. Like I said, I probably won't go very long this morning. But the one thing I don't want to have happen is I don't want any Ram fan to use the weather as an excuse, right? Matthew Stafford cut his teeth in the NFC North, right? Devontae Adams played all those years in Green Bay. Puka Nacua played at University of Washington and BYU. The Rams have offensive linemen from the Big Ten. Let's not get caught up and get all worried about the weather. This isn't the 70s Rams, right? It's a completely different animal. And if the Rams lose this game, okay, let's just say a Harrison Mevis kick from 45 is looking like it's going straight through and it's blowing back 30 yards because of some wind. Okay, you can make that excuse, but let's not talk about it. We've already seen this team without Devontae Adams become 13 yards away from beating last year's champion, the Eagles. So you don't want to get caught up in that excuses. Now, if you want to blame the refs, I'm all for it. And the inconsistency of the NFL, we talked about this the other day, is you call Landman for a questionable hit, but on the play where Matthew Stafford injures his hand, he takes a blow to the head. And we've seen lesser blows to the head called by the officials. And at some point, you can't play this game with replay assist. This is reviewable. That's not reviewable. Somewhere you got to step in and you got to make right? And I'm just glad replay assist wasn't around in January of 2019, namely in New Orleans. All right, Manny Vasquez. Sir, thank you so much for clicking on. And I do apologize to you guys for coming on at this odd hour. But I'm on the road, and this is the last time I'm going to be in the Ram Cave this week. So I'm going to be on the road. You're going to see some different environs. You're going to see me on my laptop, and I just wanted to get this one in before I go. All right, let's talk about Kevin Dotson and injuries, but let's look at the Bears side first. They activated Braxton Jones, who had a couple of good years, was a pretty high pick of the Bears a few years ago, and then he didn't start off the year well, and then he kind of lost his job. He got hurt and has not played since week 2, and it was stepped into by Ozzie Trapillo, and he was their left tackle through this whole run, but he got hurt, and he is out this coming week. And so right now, maybe they go with the veteran Braxton Jones, but he hasn't played since September, or they stay with the guy who finished the game named Theo Benedette, left tackle, UDFA out of Canada, right? What I read on Bears media is that it's likely Benedette will start and Jones will back him up. But Benedette has to line up opposite Jared Verse. So there's something to think about there. Let me just continue with the Bears here real quick. Montez Sweat is their best edge guy. He had 11 sacks, but he also is pretty weak against the run. There's no real standout fearful guy that you have to worry about. There's no Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Vita Vea. There's none of those guys that are on this Bears front seven. And so the Rams should be able to punish them up the middle, eat yardage and clock, and limit Caleb Williams' opportunities. And therefore, if you're running the ball and pounding the rock and taking care of the rock, then the Rams should be in good stead there, given how the weather is projected to be. I think it said 18 degrees, wind chill of 10, something like that, possibility of snow. The Bears should be able to run against the Rams, but not as well, right? Their left tackle position is a big deal. Everyone else has had really good years. The Bears in recent, well, we'll get back to that. Looking at the Rams, yes, it came back that Kevin Dotson, I looked at PFF, they got him in as the starter at right guard, and that's huge. And I really think, yeah, you can't get beyond that, right? You just can't. Justin Dedick played well, but you want Kevin Dotson in there. And I haven't had it absolutely 100% confirmed that Kevin Dotson is playing, but I think all sites are pointing to that. They're less positive right now in terms of Terrence Ferguson. They didn't say he's not playing, but they're still saying where they're kind of evaluating. And I think Terrence Ferguson is a how do I say this? Terrence Ferguson is just a wild card for the Rams, right? We've been talking about it all year. His snaps and everything have picked up. He's trouble downfield for a defense that is weak, not your typical Bears defense. So we do like what this Ram team looks like. I'll get into some nitbits here, but let's go to USA Expat. Weak backup OTs usually resort into holding. It'll be up to the refs not to overlook these flagrant fouls, right? Both Bears LTs are turnstiles. So, yeah, great advantage. So let me take advantage of that time now and just put up one of the graphics that, man, I worked hard on, dude. You know, Joe works hard. Let me put this one up here. This is the defensive one. So there we go. Boom. If you look at that, look who Verse is lining up opposite. He's lining up opposite against that left tackle, so opportunity for him. Again, across the board, Thuney is a Hall of Fame caliber guy. Dahlman was a great improvement over Coleman Shelton. Jonah Jackson gave the Bears the year the Rams were expecting last year. And right there is a solid right tackle. So it's a good front. Is it the best? I don't know if it's the best we've seen all year, but it's a very good front. And so they have opportunity because of that. But there is, what do they say? You're only as strong as your weakest point. And Benedette, whatever his name is, however you pronounce it, he is their weak link. And I think the Rams could be able to exploit that. I'm trying to remember who it was that just got blown up the other day. But, man, watch Josiah Stewart. Josiah Stewart, he blew up a Panther lineman. That guy is a master of the bull rush. And so this team comes hard. Fisk looks like he's rounding back into form. We love Kobe Turner. We love Poona Ford. This is because of the format here. I think I got the Rams in nickel format, so you don't see Poona Ford on the screen there. Lake is back. I think he should be a little bit sharper. So the weak point here, probably would be, our corners. Not that they're as weak as, say, the Bears left tackle, but they're Odunze. There was a reason the Rams wanted Odunze, right? They wanted him. DJ Moore has made big catch after big catch, and Burden's played well too. You can see the Rams are projecting Josh Wallace back. So there we go. Actual David Henry, what has happened to Terrence Ferguson? Is he injured? Yeah, mild hamstring issue. That's why he was held out the last 2 weeks. And so they didn't say he's not playing. They said it's still open. He could play this week. But I think he's the wild card, David. I really do. $5 Steve. Apple weather currently has Sunday at 18 degrees and cloudy. That's tolerable. Is there a wind factor in there? Did they say what the wind is there, Steve? I'd be curious to know. Look at it on the other side of the ball, and you're looking at the Bears defense here. And again, just see what the Bears have been doing against these teams, right? What they've been giving up, and they live by the turnover, and forget about their grades, so to speak, because their grades aren't great here. Montez Sweat's been good, but he hasn't been great, and he's lining up over McClendon. This is a great moneymaker for McClendon. He holds up well here. He's going to be making himself some money, like Joe Noteboom did a few years ago. But look at that. Jackson, Avila, Dotson. We're happy with all these guys. I want more out of Avila. And you know what? So far, Coleman Shelton has not hurt the Rams to some extent. I do have my doubts. And when the Rams win the Super Bowl, I'll become the president of the Coleman Shelton fan club, right? But you look at these matchups here, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, our tight ends. Rams have great opportunity to put points on the board. It just depends on what it's going to look like on the field conditions. So let's keep pressing here. Just some stuff that we got. Let me look at this. The former Rams, Case Keenum, Nikolai Kalinick, Jonah Jackson, and Daniel Hardy. Remember Daniel Hardy? They are all currently with the Bears organization. I don't know if Kalinick and Hardy. I think Hardy's on the active roster. I don't know if Kalinick is. And then I found this tidbit. It was right there on Bears Media. Bears in recent years have lost 11 straight games broadcast on NBC Sunday Night Football. 11 straight. Wow. We saw Mike Tomlin have his streak in, so we don't put too much faith in it. But here was the ominous one. The last time the Bears won a game on Sunday Night Football was that game against the Rams when we went to the cold there and Goff had a horrible night. Now, we ended up going to the Super Bowl that year, but that was a really bad game. And the Rams typically don't play well in Soldier Field. Now, sometimes they'll get wins, but they don't play to their level. Also, another tidbit that was pulled out, Sean McVay's 15th playoff game since coming to the Rams in 2017. It's a different era. More teams get in, of course, but the Rams didn't play any playoff games from 2005 through 2016. That's something. And in the 70s, from 73 through 79, I think they played 14 playoff games, counting the Super Bowl. In the 80s, they played 11 playoff games. So 15 playoff games, including 2 Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl title. I'll reiterate again, this is the golden era for Rams football. I've talked about the potential for a 40-burger, and we've seen it, right? The Rams still put 34 on the board when they left a lot of stuff on the table at the end of the first half last week against a better defense. But 40 is always a possibility with this Rams offense. And I've been talking 40, but I saw in an interview with Kay Adams that Alex Smith, the former Chief 49er Redskin quarterback, Utah player, he says the Rams could put 50 on the Bears if everything goes right. So I'll take that, right? I'd feel a lot better leading 50-14 at the start of the fourth quarter than 40-14. And then, of course, Nick Hampton was elevated from the practice squads. Rams re-signed Alex Johnson again. And Akilla Witherspoon officially was put on the IR. All right. Let me take a couple questions. Rams draft picks have obviously been adjusted. Right now in the top 100, they have pick 13, pick 29. That's what that win did for them. And roughly picks 61 and 86 at this point. And I actually ran a mock draft just to see what is out there, and I'll show it to you guys here in a second. Let me look at your questions since you're gracious enough to spend time with me at a non-normal hour. All right. Bill, what do we got here? Bill from Philly. I thought the Rams might pick up a cornerback like Gilmore. I don't know what they're thinking, because they could have grabbed these guys earlier. And again, we talked about it. The media have been all over the Rams about their corners, right? All season, all over it, right? That was the narrative all off season. Rams didn't draft a corner. Rams didn't sign a corner. And a guy like Gilmore was out there. So maybe they didn't feel comfortable with Gilmore. Maybe it's his personality. Maybe it's a locker room thing. Maybe they just did not see it. They had the money. It wasn't a question of them being cheap. It was just probably a question of what they believed in. And again, right, this is the hard part about being a Ram fan now. Not that it's a first world problem, is you just you've grown to trust the judgment of the whole McSneed operation. RJ Van Veen, thank you. I don't think I've had you before. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. I know my hours are usually later in the afternoon here on the West Coast. K-Dot playing will be good for the running game. Absolutely, especially when you look at that Bears defense. Sweat, the one thing about Sweat is Sweat's not necessarily excellent against the run. He can get after the quarterback, but he's got issues along the edge a little bit. And, you see Grady Jarrett's got a lot of mileage on him there in the center of that defense. And, of course, I'm running off of a nickel package here, so it looks a little different when it's in base. But yeah, look at these guys. The Rams have a great opportunity, and they could have run with Diedick, but they have better opportunity if Kevin Dotson is truly ready to rumble. So that is exciting. It would be exciting if we put like 200 yards on the board on the ground, right? And Stafford could just go, 18 for 20, right? With 3 touchdown passes. Let's see. Manuel Vasquez. Hopefully the Rams contain Williams in the pocket. Most of his splash plays are when he leaves the pocket. They didn't really get that chance this year as much. But, that's the Kyler Murray training. Now, Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray because Caleb Williams has shown that he can improve and take what he wants. But, that off-script, running around, play broken down, fall apart. You remember that game 2 of last year, how Verse and some of the young guys just kept missing him and stuff. And by the time we got to later in the season, things had kind of straightened out a little bit. And so I think they've got some idea in that defensive office there on how to handle a Williams in terms of broken play, off play. It doesn't mean you're going to stop him, right? It doesn't mean you're going to stop him. I was surprised, though, with some of the plays he made, and full credit to Caleb Williams, but my gosh, the Packers guys should just be scolded for what they did, right? Definitely. Let's see. I like Jay's, this is Ryan RJ Van Veen. I like J.E.'s take. Where the snow will make Williams less mobile. Yeah, maybe it will. Is it going to be snow though? That's the one. I heard there was a possibility of so, but I'm not sure if that they said there's going to be snow, right? That'll be good to know going into game time. Mr. Burns, have a great camp, Pastor Joe. Rams 30, Chicago 24. Yeah, guys, in case you didn't know it, I'm leaving to run a kids winter camp with my team. And yeah, that's part of my day job. And such. So RJ Van Veen, I think the secondary and safeties need to get to the ball more aggressively, more like find the ball, get to the ball. None of that soft covering. A great argument. We want that, but we also know the Rams live in fear, and the Bears live off these big plays. So there's going to be a yin and a yang there. It should be really interesting. RJ Van Veen, yes, you were. I'm so sorry. Thank you. It's because of my hours, I think, probably throw you off. But I do appreciate you. I do appreciate you being here, and I'm glad we got on at a time that was good for you. Hey, real quick. So I just ran a mock draft because I wanted to see mostly where the Rams were drafting at. And when I saw where they were drafting, I just hit automate draft, boom, or automate all the way through, and I just took the players I thought the Rams needed. So this was by no means scientific, but I got to tell you, every time I've seen a mock draft or I've just kind of just pushed a button just to let a mock draft run, Mekhi Lemon from USC is always there for the Rams to take. And Lemon would be a great addition to the wide receiver room. The guy I really like is Caden McDonald from Ohio State. I think he's like 6'5", 10,000 pounds. Just get another beast there in the center of the defense. Will Lee, he's going to the Senior Bowl. And if you remember, the Rams used to have a huge passion for the Senior Bowl. They used to, when you saw the Rams draft, they drafted guys from the Senior Bowl. And it slowed down a little bit. But Will Lee from Texas A&M, that guy's really interesting. He's got some length. Eli Raridon, I might have reached for him a little bit. He's a tight end at Notre Dame, 6'7", I think 250. But he excels at blocking, and they feel like he's untapped as a receiver. So that'll be fun to watch. I did take a center because there were no centers to take at different points in the draft. So I grabbed just Jake Slaughter out of Florida. I took a Wisconsin tackle because you can't go wrong with something out of Wisconsin or the Big Ten. The guy I did take a flyer on a little bit was Eric Gentry from USC because he's so athletic, and I think you could plug him into a lot of different places. But nothing scientific there, but you get an idea of where the Rams are drafting right now. It wasn't 86, it was 93. 13, 29, 61, and 93 in the top 100. 4 picks in the top 100 is great, right? And 2 of those being number 1 picks is even better. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Let's go. Manuel Vasquez. Wallace coming back is a big plus, especially since Witherspoon went down. He played well in Lake's absence. Wallace is a guy that's just worked his way in. He's not great, maybe a little bit less than Jalen McCullough, but another undrafted free agent home run by the Rams. Justin Diedick, undrafted free agent. Jalen McCullough, undrafted free agent. Yeah. Xavier Smith, undrafted free agent. Tim Burns. I want to see outside pressure on D this week. Force everything into Poona Ford. Man, Poona Ford, man, I'm guilty of it. Never talk enough about Poona Ford. Poona Ford's great. Poona Ford has just had a fantastic season. Great free agent signing. Absolutely. All right. I just want to remind you again about Kistler Law. Get the compensation you deserve. 2 things about Kistler Law. One, they are the number 1 sponsor. We wouldn't be here without Kistler Law. As some of you may know, as you guys keep referencing me as Pastor Joe, my day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And we're right here on YouTube as well at Burbank Faith Virtual. That's our channel, Burbank Faith Virtual, across social media everywhere. And it's a very small church. So I make my living doing RamView and pastoring and writing books. And so Kistler Law is one of our great supporters, but also Kistler Law is also a number 1 sponsor for our camps. So if you ever see a Paul Kistler on here, be sure to tell him to be thank you for being a great supporter and a good citizen. And then I want to remind you about sports ball games as they are kind of growing here a little bit. They are going to do some Super Bowl stuff. I might be doing that, ask you guys to join me in some pick'em squares and everything. It's not what I do, but it is a fun way to kind of get involved, have bragging rights, talk trash with your friends, and not get caught up in all the gambling stuff. And that's basically their theme. If you're looking for a new way to bring your crew together without the stress of gambling or even fantasy overload. Sports ball games, free pick'em squares, live leaderboards, bragging rights built in. 1 click and you're in. No fees, no spreadsheets, no headaches. Just sports fun for your whole group to enjoy. Whether you're cheering from the break room or the backyard, sports ball games makes every game day a team event. Play for fun, brag for real. All right. Can't say thank you enough to sports ball. I'm going to be spending time with them at spring training in March. So looking forward to hanging out with that crew over there. All right. We saw that Mike Tomlin stepped down. So Pete Carroll, Raheem Morris, Mike McDaniel, Mike Tomlin, Jonathan Gannon, Kevin Stefanski, and John Harbaugh just during the close of the season, let alone was it Callahan at Tennessee and Daboll in New York. So a lot of openings are there in the NFL. Dolphins, Baltimore, Giants, Vegas, Atlanta, Tennessee, Arizona, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. A lot of opportunities there. Chargers fire Greg Roman, and that was interesting. I don't know if this year was a fair assessment for anybody with the Bolts, just because of all the injuries. But again, it's Spanos, right? The Spanos curse. Panthers, I think, drank the Kool-Aid. Now, you guys are going to think I'm wrong on this, but the Panthers are picking up Bryce Young's 5th-year option, and I like Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's good. Bryce Young made some great throws against the Rams. He did, but long term, I don't know if Bryce Young was in the Rams division, and we had to play him twice a year, no matter what. I don't think you'd have much fear of him, right? And I think if you had a better quarterback, now where do you find that better quarterback? That's the question. But if you had a better quarterback, those receivers would become even more dangerous. But Bryce Young's high quality character dude. He played well, but man, if they want to pick up his 5th-year option and extend him in the NFC as a Ram fan, I'm all down with it. Extend him because he's good, but I don't think he's ever going to be great. Just some quick updates here. Buffalo has designated Ed Oliver and Curtis Samuel to return, wide receiver. So that's good for them. They can get him back sooner than later. And then Buffalo, of course, put Gabe Davis on the IR. Eagles filed their OC, Kevin Patullo. So we're going to hear again about how Jalen Hurts has another new OC. That'll be interesting how that plays out. 49ers designate Fred Warner to return. And then also, and George Kittle, of course, done for the season. Another one, former Pitt USC wide receiver Jordan Addison, arrested for trespassing in Florida. He was already suspended for a few games this past year for substitute boots and doing the Henry Ruggs. Now, He didn't hit anybody. He didn't kill anybody, but he was driving 140 miles an hour, and someone should give him the biography of Henry Ruggs. This guy is a super talented receiver, but he is butchering his career. Someone needs to sit on this dude, because it's all falling apart. A couple of teams I want to give Joe T advice to. The Eagles. You got to make a decision, right? I think you need to get rid of one of your receivers and commit to the run, restock your line, do whatever it takes, get another tight end, and double down on the run game where you're not dependent on Jalen Hurts passing. If you're going to want to be this all wide open team throwing the ball, Jalen Hurts is not your quarterback. So if you want that, then keep Jalen Hurts, and I'll feel comfortable as a Ram fan. But looking at the AFC, what I don't understand is, given his age, does TJ Watt – now, do Steeler fans – and I should ask this to Steeler fan Rob in Missouri – do Steeler fans expect to be better next year? I don't think you do. I don't think you expect to be better. So is there not a better time? And I know you got a ton of picks, but is there a better time to obviously move off Jalen Ramsey and Hayward? I get that. Those guys are getting really up there. But isn't it time for them to exploit and use TJ Watt as a chip to help in that rebuild, right? You got Herbig, you got Highsmith. And I'm not arguing that TJ Watt isn't a Hall of Famer, but now you've had him for close to a decade and you got no playoff wins. And he's creeping up there in age. And if I'm TJ Watt, do I want to stick around for another rebuild, right? Because what quarterback are you going to get? I don't know what quarterback you're going to get, right? And even if you go and sign, Malik Willis is kind of a hot item right now. I don't know if Malik Willis and everything's going to turn around just for him. So the Steelers really should make some moves and unload and rebuild, right? Find out if Omar can build it back through the draft. And I'll tell you this, if you think it's not possible, do you remember the obits? Everyone was writing for the Rams after the 2022 season. Of course, that was the offensive line chainsaw massacre that year. And of course, no one wanted to see it. Everyone was saying, the bill came due on F them picks. But the truth was the Rams didn't really have to rebuild. And after the 2022 season, when Vegas was predicting the Rams were going to win 4.5 games, they went 10-7 and made it to the playoffs. And I've said it repeatedly here, they would have beat the Lions in Detroit if they'd had a competent kicker and maybe just one more pass rusher, just one more competent pass rusher, right? And so the Steelers can rebound quick. I think the same thing's a problem with Baltimore right now. You got to pay Lamar Jackson 74 rocks next year. Is Lamar Jackson going to snap back? Is he? He's getting older and older, and he's less and less explosive. And he might come out gangbusters this coming year, like in September and October, and look great. And then he's going to look like he always does. Or do you try to find a way to move off of him before it's too late? Because he's scheduled to make 74 rocks this year and 74 rocks the year after that. And it might be too late. If somebody wants to offer you something for Lamar Jackson, man, I think you do it. You got to make that move. I thought it was really cool hearing the Baltimore owner, was it Bichette, say that you know what, man, I listen to I take their opinions, but I have the power. I do not give my players power. So that's pretty. I would love to hear my owner say that. I love my owner now. He calls me all the time, Stan Kroenke, but that's what you want to hear from an owner is like, no, I have the power. There's a lesson there for the Buss family that cost them probably their franchise. So let's keep pressing on here. I do, again, appreciate you guys being here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Cert. Pona Ford, 5'11", 310. Low man wins football. Yeah, remember they were saying that about Aaron Donald as well. Now, Pona Ford's not Aaron Donald, but he was too small, right? But, yeah, I love the Bubbas, the toilet cloggers, as we used to call them here. Steve, on the draft, I'll say these days any Iowa offensive lineman is more reliable than Wisconsin since Luke Fickell. Okay, fair enough with the spread attack. Different type of O-line there. And I know you like the Iowa center. I couldn't get my hands on him, Steve. Sorry about that. I couldn't get my hands on him. Steeler, Tim Burns talking about Steeler fan Rob. He just lost his mind. Is that because I said trade TJ Watt? Now, I know he's got a man crush on TJ, but it just is what it is. right? It just is what it is. All right, let me work through this real quick here because I got to get on the road. January 17th, Bills at the Broncos. You know, I want to see the Bills advance, right? But I know some people are taking the Bills. I can't. I'm taking the Broncos, and I'm taking that team, Sean Payton, and the development of Bo Nix, and their more complete team. And we've seen it all year. So I'm leaning Denver in this one. I'll give final predictions maybe on Friday if I get on the air, and I think I will be. 49ers at Seahawks. I'm rooting for the 49ers, but I think the Seahawks should take this game. But, boy, there's going to be heck to pay. Let's just say Shanahan and Saleh dial up one of their specials or whatever, right? I don't think it's possible. I think we saw the differences between these two teams in the final week of the season. But let's say if they do, let's say Darnold doesn't have a great day, that really caused a disruption in the force, right? And that would just be marvelous to have those doubts in Seattle going into 2026. And then this way, the 49ers would come back to SoFi, and the Rams would get revenge for that Thursday night debacle. And then the double revenge, the sweep of the leg, so to speak, by going to Levi and winning the Super Bowl, right? Those opportunities are there. This postseason to me feels all about redemption tour. But if you're asking me, I want the Bills and 49ers to win, but I'm taking the Broncos and the Seahawks on Saturday. Texans at Patriots. If CJ Stroud was anywhere near competent, I'd have taken the Texans. But I don't know what happened to that kid. He didn't play well. I'm taking the Patriots at home in that one. And then Sunday night, I am feeling really positive about the Rams. I really am. I'm feeling very positive about the Rams. Not that I'm going to be breaking things because I still have those same concerns. They didn't alleviate anything in Carolina, but I do think they should win this game. I don't think anyone's going to say really truthfully 42-14 or anything like that, but the Rams should win this game. They should be able to run the ball. If they can't run the ball, you understand the elements when it comes to catching and throwing and all those things, but the elements are made for running the ball. The Rams ran the ball with their undrafted free agent last week. They can run the ball this week with their basically all-pro caliber right guard and their bubbas at guards and tackles. I don't know about their center, but the Bears don't provide that kind of a defense that Carolina had. So the Rams should be able to pound the ball. And I do like the Rams in this one. Do I want to, what do I want to say here? I'll say 28-14, and hopefully it's 28-0 in the fourth quarter. But yeah, we want to see 4 quarters of football, and that's why if the Rams fall apart, I'm not going to break anything because that's who this team is, and we have not seen. And there's the optimism here, is that we have not seen 4 quarters of football this year from the Rams in any one game, right? Maybe a little bit against the Saints, maybe a little bit against the Cardinals the first time they played them, maybe a little bit, maybe the game in Levi when we went up there and smoked Frisco. But we really haven't seen, when it really counts, 4 quarters of football. So it's always out there. It's always in the future, right? It's like Gatsby, boats against the currents, right? And one fine day we'll reach out and grab it. So we're looking forward to this. I think it's possible the Rams could play their best game of the year and win 28-14. Amen? All right, there we go. Let's see here. Drive safe and have fun. I'd be tempted to know, man, what it's like driving in Sweden, man. It just got to be so cold. I mean, if there's any place I want to see in Europe up there, it's probably Scandinavia. But I'm not much. I'm more of a cross country driver myself here in the States, but Scandinavia has always interested me. Tim Burns, do you think the 49ers schedule being easy is the NFL trying to have another home team win a Super Bowl like Tampa? No, because, those things are all kind of spun out and spit out by the computer. 3rd place schedule, 4th place schedule. And remember, they fell apart last year, right? And they kind of fell apart this year, but they kind of, again, duct tape and baling wire held it together and ended up winning games that they shouldn't have won. And I was wrong. I never thought Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams would hold up as long as they did this year. And that's funny because they survived Fred Warner. They survived George Kittle. They survived Brock Purdy, right? They survived Bosa, right? Think about the money you're paying some of these guys, And again, where's your money spent, right? McCaffrey delivered and Trent Williams delivered, even though, Trent Williams, he's basically, he watched Noah get on the ark. He's so old. So there we go. All right, let's look at the state.
It was a stone groove, my
The state
man.
and Rams history. In 2004, the Rams re-signed their assistant coaching staff. And I wonder if you guys know these names: Gil Byrd, Wilbert Montgomery, and Henry Ellard. In fact, Henry Ellard spent 8 seasons with the Rams as an assistant coach from 2001 to 2008. Born on this day in 1946, the late Travis Williams, who had a great career with the Packers and then had a couple of moments with the Rams. He passed away several years ago. And I'm not going to really talk too much about this day. This was the day of the Phantom Sack. This was the day Los Angeles Rams football 1.0 died when we lost in Frisco 30-3. Nothing was the same after that until the team returned from St. Louis, at least in Los Angeles. And really nothing was the same for the franchise for a decade, for 10 years. It's a lost decade until the 99 season and such. So let's see. I think I got it all in there. Yeah, I think we got it all in there. Let's see if there's any questions left before we wrap up the blast today. I went longer. I always go longer than I think. You guys get me going. $5 Steve. I think I read McVay is 6-2 of playoff games the Rams are favored in, and the Rams are favored this week. Amen. Yeah, I feel good about this game. I feel better about this game than I did Carolina. I don't know why, but I do. Also, you mentioned 6-2, Steve. The Rams went 4-0 in 21, and then in 2022 they didn't make the playoffs. 23 they lost in the first round, so they were 4-1. Last year they went 1-1 in the playoffs, so they're 5-2. Right now the Rams are 6-2 in the playoffs under Matthew Stafford. 6-2. And remember what the narrative was about Matthew Stafford. It's kind of being replayed about Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert doesn't win a playoff game. He lost his first 3 playoff games. And I remember everywhere, all over the KBMs, Stafford's never won a playoff game. Stafford's never won a playoff game. You ever played quarterback for the Detroit Lions? And I'll say this, you ever played quarterback as a great talent for the Spanos family? It's bad mojo, man. I can't wait. I can't wait until Justin Herbert ends up with the Rams. $5 Steve's Rams are playing a second place slate next year. That's good news, right? So, yeah, that just leads to the moment of, folks, you got 4 quarters guaranteed of Matthew Stafford. Enjoy Matthew Stafford, because, God bless the Steelers. They got good picks. They got all kinds of stuff. But, man, where do you go to get a quarterback when there's no one on the free agent market and there's no one really outside of Mendoza coming into the league ready to play, right? I know there was all this buzz about Tyler Simpson, the Alabama. I didn't like that guy. He just wasn't overly impressive to me. And I know Steeler fan Rob really liked Will Howard. But it's the same question for Baltimore. What do you do? If I want to move off Lamar, where do I go? Do I give it to Tyler Huntley for a year? What do I do if I'm the Eagles and I decide I want to be a passing team because I need to pass? Saquon Barkley, you commit to the run. You got to understand Saquon Barkley has a bunch of mileage on him. What do you do? Because now you're kind of trusting Jalen Hurts. And I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. He's not a big-time thrower, So Rams have a great advantage right here, but take advantage of it while you have Sean McVay, right? If the Rams had to have a bridge season, I'd almost like to see Stetson Bennett with Jimmy G as the backup, just if they have to have a bridge season. I don't think Stetson Bennett's the guy long-term, but I'd kind of like to see. He looks like he's righted a lot of wrongs in his career. Brian Smith, thank you, Brian. So the Niners get another third-place schedule next year. Total BS. Yeah. Again, though, George Kittle, torn Achilles. Trent Williams, another year older. My head tells me that McCaffrey's not going to have another year like this, that this is the last one. And then, Jake Brendel at center is going to be getting older. Fred Warner's coming off of injury. He might have a nice splash here in the postseason. And Joey Bosa, another year-ending injury. And they got some issues in the secondary. But again, give it to Kyle Shanahan, right? Give it to Kyle Shanahan. I don't want him coaching my team in the fourth quarter of a Super Bowl, but you got to give it to him. Let's see here. It's all right here in Stockholm, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. About a foot of snow. Up north is way colder and more. Okay, cool. So I've been in 32-degree weather on the sidelines at a football game, but I've never had to really operate in it or drive in it. I had someone else drive. Well, you stay warm, man. Stay warm over there in Sweden. I do appreciate you clicking on. This is awesome. I love it. All right, guys. I got to get on the road. When you see me, I will not be in the confines of the Ram Cave. I'll be on my laptop. It'll be probably grainy. You'll see other things behind me. It will look very unprofessional, and I probably won't be doing it through Restream. I'll probably just be going straight through YouTube. So, all right, guys, take care. God bless. Let me give you some proud heritage on the way out, and we will see you later this week. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.